All right, so howdy neighbors, and welcome back to the YouTube channel. Got my good buddy Jackson Melnick with us today, and he has a new single called Trouble that's dropping today from his forthcoming album, which is called Abilene. Welcome, Jackson.
Thank you, Christopher.
How you doing today?
Be with you.
Likewise.
I'm good. Thank God.
Excellent. And you're coming to us from the state of...
I'm in Rhode Island right now, which is not my home state. My home state would be Colorado, and specifically the Gunnison Valley and nearby parts, western slope of Colorado.
Very good. And that's where you put together a lot of these songs, hey?
That is where I put together a whole lot of these songs. Yeah.
Yeah. So how long do these songs stretch back for you?
They stretch back a ways. The earliest song on the record I wrote when I was 17, I think, or 18. I was still in high school. So that's almost a decade ago. Yeah. That one would be The Rhythm That Has No End, which is sort of one of the songs that got me going writing songs in the tradition of bluegrass standards, coming from Ralph Stanley and Mr. Monroe, and your friend Peter Rowan too. It's actually a big influence on me from a bluegrass perspective, songwriting perspective.
Cool. So let's talk about a little bit more about that, just in the sense of what the heart of the album is, and what it has meant to you, and maybe how it's evolved. So if you want to kind of plow into that question, what is really at the center of this album energetically for you?
Well, I had a great conversation with Craig Shelburne, who's a music writer, when I kind of realized that there was some industry interest and reception to it, and I needed like a proper bio. He wrote one for me, and he said something that hadn't really occurred to me, but I think is true, that it's a songwriter's record at the core, which is certainly, I think, my strong suit, more than being a musician or anything else. But I think it was a surprise to me, because I had always thought about the songs as having some kind of healing or catharsis in them for me, writing them and singing them and also listening to them. So it's definitely a songwriter's record, but I think musically, and thanks to you, there's a lot more going on than just the songwriting.
Well, I appreciate that very much, and it sounds like you're speaking to what has been a transformative healing journey for yourself, hey?
No doubt.
Yeah. So just maybe touch on, if you'd like to, some of the things that change and evolve from your concept of making your first record album, and then seeing it all the way to the end. What do you feel are some of the more surprising things that showed up involving your own personal healing?
Yeah, it's a great question. Well, in the writing of the songs, I would say, is where the healing happens for me, because being tapped into that creative place is such a gift, as you know, and to feel connected to the earth, and so much of that happens for me in the process of writing songs. Say the process of making the record, I mean, the healing aspect was to create something that I felt proud of. I mean, that's so empowering, but I can't really think of a particular song that stands out in terms of my own healing. I'd say just sort of on the whole, growing as an artist and as a musician, I think um, what we get out of it at the best is not pride, but is sort of that relationship with music, which is so intimate. And for all of us artists, like there's a lot of creative healing juices there, to be found.
Absolutely, and some of that can be kind of hard to put a finger on, and some
It
subtle
is.
aspects and some
Yeah.
esoteric things, going in there. One of the things that I like about your songwriting, to me, is the strength of a nice melody, um, that has its own identity, but kind of uh, has its place within the traditional spectrum, and some unexpected, you know, uh, new things, poetic um, sensibilities that aren't necessarily, uh, you know, one of the things about bluegrass is that, so many of the songs are lyrically so absolutely simple, and that really serves the mission in so many cases. But there's room for expansion there, and I think you've done a good job of tapping into uh, your favorite influences, within bluegrass and outside of bluegrass, to find, sometimes, when you're making a salad, you can have the best of both worlds. But I feel like you did an excellent job of of blending a little bit more towards the kind of, just, perhaps poetic side of things that might have come from, your interest in literature and writers outside of bluegrass. Hey.
Yeah, I really thank you. I really appreciate that. I like what you said about the melodies and bluegrass. I mean, when I think about it now, I do feel that the healing is in the melodies. And I remember conversations we had um, a while back, something about the pentatonic scale, and you saying something like we might be made of the pentatonic scale, which I think about from time to time in a wondrous way, because I don't really understand that yet. But that's always been my favorite scale to work in, for whatever reasons. But in bluegrass music, the melodies are so pure. I think partly because the you're, it's a really simple palette that you end up working with. It's to have that pure sound, and yet so much can happen. I mean, there's infinite sort of combinations of notes to create different melodies. And an artist I really admire, who's on the circuit right now a lot, Molly Pardon, who sings on Spirit Mother, which is a song on the record.
Wonderful
She's
art.
really great at writing beautiful melodies on one or two chords, which I aspire to. I mean, it's raw and it's super connected, and I think that I've always loved bluegrass music for that quality. So I almost feel like I'm trying to get simple, despite my interests in literature and all that other stuff. It can be a distraction from the real um, beautiful melodies
Yeah.
potentially. So I appreciate you saying that. So it all kind
Yeah.
of works together.
Yeah, you're welcome. I definitely think that can be something that one can go a bit overboard with it. It's fun to kind of test those parameters and pull it back in. But another thing I like about the album is that it's not too blue, and it's not too navel gazy. And so those are, when you're talking about, transmitting, uh, intense personal reflections and emotions, it can kind of be a bit easy or a bit pedestrian, or kind of common for, and not always in a bad way, for things thematically to end up uh, in a traditionally despairful place. And that's something that I don't find in this album. I think there's some, you touch on some of the more conflicting, uh, uh, energetic balances in life, but to me, it never ends up being too blue, and I think one of the things that helps with that are the nice uplifting melodies, and you've got some kind of pretty significant shout outs to the tradition, like with the lead track, John the
John the
Revelator. Talk
Revelator.
about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. No, that I mean, John the Revelator is such an amazing um, song. It just works so well as a bluegrass song, and we could talk about. I mean, I feel like now I should tell you the secret that I think I've been keeping from you for as long as we've known each other. But before we started working together, um, and I only knew you through your YouTube channel, and but we're really we were Facebook friends. I think from meeting at Rocky Grass, which is always sort of a blur. But
Mhm.
I saw something you posted, or you were talking about minor chords and how they don't belong in bluegrass music, and there was a lot of hullabaloo in the comments. But I really admired your work. I mean, as a mandolinist and a songwriter, and just energetically. And I removed a number of minor chords from a number of songs that wound up on that record, and
Cool.
it shifted a lot. I mean, there were a lot of spots where I had that minor fourth in there a lot.
Uh-huh.
No, not minor second. Let's see. Um, and yeah, it just changed totally changed the tone um, of the whole record, and that helped a lot, honestly.
Well, that's a good move. I personally think that you can get just as much emotional and sometimes with the minor chords you're going for the sadder aspects, but we can definitely learn from cats like Hank Williams that you don't need minor chords to communicate kind of the.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And yeah, so I mean, on South of My Soul, for example, that song was a 1-4-5, and I was playing it starting on the G chord, and um, I would go, I can't see myself, but maybe is this all in there, Like, this is gonna be too high for me, but. And walking when the air is clear. Like going, that's the minor second, yeah? No?
Well, maybe the six, minor six minor.
Sixth, there we go, yeah. See, this is an issue when you learn how to play music from just playing with other people and you have absolutely no music theory. I'm so
Got it.
embarrassing. And it adds that gravitas,
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm curious why if we want to revisit, old subjects with the whole minor chord bit, but just going straight to the fourth.
Yeah. To me, it's a bit prettier.
It's way prettier, and for me as a songwriter or anyone who's a singer, you have to communicate so much more with your phrasing to get that sorrow in there.
Yeah, good point.
You're not so dependent on the chord progressions to make it all happen. And in Americana music, there's a lot of that minor chordy stuff in there, and I think a good critique of Americana music, a fair critique of Americana music, is that it's, oh God, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but it's like there's an element of acting in Americana music, for sure. And that's impressive. There's a lot of good actors out there, and I like movies, and I like, Gillian Welch. It all works, there's authenticity and all of that, for sure. But
Good point.
that's not me, man. I mean, I'm just not cool enough to be like an Americana sensation. I tried that and it absolutely didn't work. You know, it's like
We
I
all have our unique specialties.
so I veered in the other direction, cut out all the minor chords, and then realized that I had an album that needed bluegrass support, because I feel like you know, Mr. Monroe's arrangement in terms of instrumentations really supports that kind of sound, the high lonesome sound.
Does. Let's talk
Yeah.
about some of the folks that came in here to help take the album to the next level. You want to mention a few of the good friends?
Well, good friends, I hope one day. I mean, certainly good friends of yours, but Jason Carter plays fiddle on Abilene. That was great because I heard his fiddling on that song, and he was able to do it. Corey Walker, who is, as far as I know, famous based on his Facebook presence, super duper famous. Seems like a good guy. Plays banjo on that song too. Alex Leach plays banjo on John the Revelator. And then as we got into it, as you remember, we were just in that creative flow and listening to the songs and seeing what they wanted. And Chloe Fioranzo, I'm sure I'm saying her last name wrong, but
I think that's it.
that might be it. She plays clarinet on Rag Zarat, which is a little more of a far out song. And she's in the mix on that one. Molly is singing with me on Spirit Mother, which is so nice, which is a song that you brought years of talent to in terms of producing. I mean, it's really magnificently
we stretched out on that one.
We for sure did. And of course your mandolin work, which is unrivaled, is all over the record. And
A couple sliders. You had Tucker on dobro.
That's right. Yeah, Tucker on dobro, and
Smith Curry on the pedal steel.
Smith Curry on the pedal steel. And
because we went in that direction just a little bit. It's not just like straight roots, not straight bluegrass. It's kind of it's kind of got its own sound going.
It does, yeah. And I recently actually I still haven't got the digital album submitted yet to all the different places, and my father actually has listened to the record and heard the track list rearranged, and some of the funkier tracks are up on the front now. So that's sort of gonna be a cool way to experience it. So there's some songs on there like Abilene that are definitely, honky tonky.
And that's the title cut, right?
That's the title cut, yeah. Just because there's a lot going on in that song.
Let's talk about your video that's coming out today.
Yeah, I'm really thankful Bluegrass Today is going to premiere the music video that I made with my younger brother, who's a filmmaker, rising filmmaker, and a friend of his, Bellamy Brewster, and they pulled together a really awesome production and really simple sort of idea for Trouble, which the more I learn about farming and farmers in America, the more I realize that the disintegration of communities, it happens everywhere, and it happens in farming communities, and it's not so easy to just point fingers at one person or another, or one policy or another, but certainly forgetting about your neighbors and losing spiritual connection with the land causes a lot of problems and depression among farmers. So that was kind of the inspiration behind that song.
Yeah, it's a bold theme and a great community wake-up message.
For sure, it's definitely bold, maybe too ambitious. I mean, the chorus, Trouble, it don't matter if it's coming or going, it don't matter if it's coming or going. That was a really healing line for me to write, because I just sort of accepting that sort of life difficulties happen no matter who you are or where you are, and learning how to find the meaning and the value in what we have is it's a task for all of us, I think.
Indeed, indeed. Let's touch on a couple of other energetic centers or songs that you feel like you're really excited to share with folks that you want them to check out.
Um, my music.
Yeah, a couple of maybe
Okay.
other songs or ideas that are coming.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, the songs are going to be teased out, and the singles that I picked to release between now and when the record drops in September are songs that I feel like um, are ones worth emphasizing. So Trouble, which I just mentioned, and then after that we'll have John the Revelator, which um, that that's a really, it's just a bluegrass song. I mean, I think it actually is a bluegrass song, which for those in the bluegrass community will appreciate how um, hard it is to write an original bluegrass song that sounds like bluegrass music. I mean, I really feel proud about that one because,
Yeah,
um, I mean, I'm adapting a traditional blues song um, in the chorus, but the new lyrics to sort of fill it out came through, and it just made me feel such a part of American music um, and bluegrass music, and is bouncy and enjoyable. And then we'll have Rog Zarat and maybe ICU also out as singles, which are more spiritual tunes. You know, I mean, Rog Zarat really is a song um, about it could be a retelling of the biblical story of the fall, and sort of being here and feeling that disconnection from God or the holy, you know, burning center of nature or whatever it is for you. But that absence, I mean, we all experience it. We all feel sort of lost and confused, I think. So um, it's a story about living with that sort of emptiness, and maybe a journey home too. And I See You is also a song that's just more spiritual. You know, it's more of a praise of God song, sort of saying that. Um, oh, is that Kaya, kitty in the
that's Kyle
background
right
there
there. Hey,
on a
sweetheart.
leash? Nice.
Hey, baby.
She looks like a little jaguar.
Getting her
Uh,
jump time in.
yeah, it's good. Um, but I See You is, that might be the boldest song on the record, because I'm kind of coming out and saying, you know, God, I still see you, you know, and it's not a lot of people who say that these days, and they're not trying to sell you something. I mean, I don't have a church. You can listen to my record for free. You know what I mean? So I'm not trying to start a cult or anything. And just regular people coming out and saying that in community, you know, I feel like I long for that. So I'm glad that song is out there, and I hope people um, appreciate hearing it, especially people who have those thoughts day to day. You know, they're going through life and seeing God's presence, um, God, you know, that holiness and meaning, despite all the craziness in the world, and might feel alone in that. So that
Yeah,
song's definitely for them.
I definitely think that you've done a good job developing and cultivating your skill of being able to put into uh, nice poetry and a nice melody the contemplations and the meditations on the ineffable. And there's a nice element of that uh, throughout the album. And then you have a nice ability to just tell a big long story song, quite well, which is to me what's going on with the title cut, Abilene.
Well, I appreciate that, Christopher. Yeah, I love all those things. I love telling stories, and I love contemplating the mysteries. So it makes sense that my art's gonna reflect that. Yeah, and sometimes they're the same thing, right? You know, there's a lot of
Indeed,
mystery and all that in the stories.
indeed, yeah.
There's a
Go ahead.
there's like a live marching band outside here that just
Nice,
appeared. I don't know
celebrating
if it's leaking in.
the forthcoming release.
I yeah yeah, I should probably go down there and tell them thank you. They'll
We'll tell you what, before we sign off here, uh, you know, if you want to kind of, reflect any more kind of culminating thoughts as this, journey of 10 years, you know, kind of is drawing towards, the end of the pre-release period, and just anything that's on your mind, on your heart, with regard to, what you're up to with your art, what you want to connect with people, my favorite thing about the whole album is that it's just a very uplifting, concept, and I think you did a great job with it, and I was really happy to work on it with you, and I think a lot of people are going to really enjoy it. But before we sign off here, you want to just kind of speak to anyone to tell them, what you really want them to be considering, when they're connecting with your energy on the album.
yeah. Uh, I appreciate that a lot again, and yeah, it is an uplifting album, and I want to just give that to the world. I mean, I tried to release music unsuccessfully a number of times over the last decade, and in hindsight, I think I was always trying to make something more out of it. You know, make a career or that kind of that more navel gazing kind of approach, which it's just I think part of growing as an artist going through that. But this record's really for it feels just like an offering, putting it out into the world, and um, feel really great if people respond to it and follow me on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, and I feel support to keep working as an artist in that respect. But it's really, I think the spirit to listen to it in is just sort of hopefully right into the spirit and lifting up the spirit, and just another point of all of these different resources that show up in your life to help us live it. I hope that this just sort of becomes another aspect of that big constellation for people.
Yeah, I think that's well said, and I would definitely also encourage anyone that's into good music, good honest, uh, roots music, good writing, melody, you know, to check the album out. So we're looking
Thank you.
for it, and you got the vinyl on sale still. Is it at jacksonmelnick.com?
Yeah, or the Bandcamp. I think that the payment system works better on the Bandcamp, but I'm
Okay.
doing a pre-order for that. Only have 200 vinyl and 200 CDs, so hopefully those will be available
I would recommend
for
everybody
anyone who
go
wants
for it.
it. Yeah, it could be so. So I have a pre-order up for those, and the Trouble music videos out today. Maybe we'll post the link in the comments here, and yeah, we'll have John the Revelator in July, and we'll keep going from there.
Excellent. Well, I definitely look forward to continuing to see where the journey takes you, and hope we can keep working together in the future, and really hope that as many people as are watching this will be checking out the new album from Jackson Melnick called Abilene, available at Jackson Melnick, MELNICK.com, also on Bandcamp. Search for Jackson Melnick album. It's called Abilene there. And thank you very much for spending this time with us and sharing all of your many diverse talents and sincere heart with us, brother.
Thank you, Christopher. It's been a pleasure to be here, and I will just say to listeners that the best way to stay in the flow for all the news and updates is through the social media for sure. So that is there to stay attuned to what's happening.
You want to leave your email address with them?
My email address is just my first name, last name @gmail.com, and that would be cool. Someone write something about how they found the songs. I'd love to hear that.
Yeah. Well, brother, enjoyed this, and look forward to
Likewise, Christopher.
checking out the Trouble music video and the subsequent releases. So we will talk to you real soon, brother.
Sounds good.